and welcome to Reveena's Kitchen. This is my first ever episode of Reveena's Kitchen. I am Reveena. This is my kitchen. And in honor of my first episode, I thought that I would show you guys how to make the greatest chocolate cake. It's an old family friend's recipe, which I've adapted, and it's moist and delicious and just all around incredible. Super, super easy to make. So I'm going to start by going over the ingredients. In this bowl with the dry ingredients, we have cocoa, flour, baking soda, lots of sugar, and salt. And in this bowl we have the wet ingredients, which I've actually just measured directly into the measuring cup. So there's oil, vanilla, 2 eggs, buttermilk. And if you don't have buttermilk, what you can actually do is just take a cup of regular milk. You want to bring it to room temperature, either in the microwave or leaving it on the counter. And then you'll add a teaspoon of vinegar, white vinegar, or lemon juice. And what this will do is it'll curdle the milk. The milk will look disgusting, fair warning. But when you bake it, the buttermilk / sour milk interacts with the baking soda in this recipe and will create little holes in the cake, and it'll be great. And this is 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate, which I've finely chopped. So we're ready to begin making the actual cake. The first thing that I'm going to do though is just give a little bit of a whisk to the wet ingredients. I'm going to add one last thing, which is a cup of very, very warm water. Cool. So now I'm basically going to stick everything into this bowl. And just whisk it up. This batter is all mixed. I can tell by just spinning the bowl and looking around, it smells amazing. It smells like chocolate. And now, because too much of a good thing can be great, I'm going to add more chocolate. So the last thing left to do is just grease and flour the pans. I've preheated the oven to 300 degrees. I know it's very low, but it's going to cook super low and slow. What you do, you take a pan. These are non-stick 8-inch regular pans. You put a little bit of butter, and then you flour it. And what I've done, I've left one pan undone. So butter, grab some butter. Yes, I'm using my fingers. They're clean. I promise they're clean. And you basically go around, putting in a little bit of butter everywhere. And you basically want a thin coating of butter everywhere, not too much, but just a good thin coating, like this. And then we're just gonna add some flour. You really, again, you don't need a lot, probably about a tablespoon. And then what you do is you tap it from one side to the other. Any extra, I like to just tap out over the sink, which I'm not going to show you because it's full of dishes. Now all I'm going to do is divide this beautiful batter between the 2 pans. Awesome. I'm now going to stick them in the oven at 300 degrees for probably around 40 minutes. So let's get this cooking so I can show you the icing later. These are out of the oven. They ended up baking for around 50 minutes, which is slightly longer than expected, but they look delicious. So what I'm going to do now is get started on the icing so that we can put this bad boy together. So let's go over the ingredients. I've got some icing sugar, some cocoa powder. We're also going to need some salt, some butter, some melted dark chocolate. Again, this is really good chocolate. And here I've got some milk and vanilla, and I just mixed it together. So we're gonna get started. I'm doing this in this bowl, and I'm going to be using, we call this a woosher, because it goes whoosh. But I'm basically gonna go with the butter, and then very gradually add all the other ingredients, but you'll see me do it. It doesn't take long. The butter is really soft, so something like that. And now we're going to add in the chocolate. And as you go, make sure to just scrape along the sides of the bowl. The point of having a spatula. But once the butter and chocolate are really well creamed together, I'm going to add the salt. I'm going to add all the cocoa. And I'm going to slowly add the icing sugar. I like to add about half of it, then a little bit of milk, and then the rest of the icing sugar. And be careful, because it will go everywhere. Stand back. So at around this stage, I feel like there's a ton of like fog. I'm gonna add around half the milk and blend it in. And the rest of the icing sugar. Stand back. Look how good that looks. That's not even done, but seriously, how good does that look? Could eat it with a spoon, and often I do. That looks so good. Okay. So one final scrape down. I have to show you this. Look at that. So I'm just gonna clean up, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll decorate the cake together. I'm almost done icing this layer. And I'm using an offset spatula, but it really doesn't matter. You can use a knife, you can use a regular spatula, you can use a big offset spatula, you can use a small. You want to be fairly generous with the icing, but I would say don't go crazy. And you will have icing left over, which you can use next time we make this cake, because I guarantee you there will be a next time. So I have my other cake here, and I ran a knife around it, and what I do to make sure it'll come out is I take my hand and I kind of see if it'll come out. You see it's coming out easily. If it's not, then what you want to do is really take a knife and go under the cake and try and loosen it up and figure out where the problem is and work there. Because if not, when you take your cake out, it'll crack. And I put the cake on upside down because that gives me a really flat surface to work with. You should technically level out your cake. I honestly never bother because I find that is, you know, you leave the cake for 20 minutes, half an hour, 3 days, 4 days, 9 days, whatever, that the weight of the cake will essentially flatten it out. So I iced all around the cake. Something which you can do is you can ice all around the cake, stick it in the fridge, come back to it, ice again. And the purpose of the first coat is it's a base coat or a crumb coat. And what you're doing is as you ice it, you're containing all the crumbs, and it's not normally a particularly nice coat. So you stick it in the fridge, come back, ice it again, and that gives you a really beautiful coat. I also think it looks fantastic as is, so I'm not going to give it a second coat. I'm now doing the decoration. So I have some beautiful edible roses right here. And I'm actually just gonna put those right on the cake. They're from a tea package, like a rose tea. But something else which you can do is just use good old-fashioned sprinkles. There we go, I've completed the circle. And I'm just gonna put a few in the center. That looks really pretty. There we go. I will call that cake done. Oh, yes. Look how that cuts. It's like butter. Yes. Let's give this a taste. The cake is so good. It is such a good cake. The cake is really dark and so ridiculously moist. It's not too sweet. The cake is less sweet, which is why the icing is so perfect with it, because icing tends to be very sweet. This mix is amazing. Go make this for your special someone on Valentine's Day. They will love you forever, assuming that's what you want. I wish you a very happy love day. Whether you're single or with someone, I hope it's a fantastic day, and just remember all the love that you have in your life. And I love you too. So thank you for joining me in my kitchen. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. There will be videos coming out shortly. Take care. Bye.